Page. We're going to attempt to take the lead from Sister Josette Page. And she did what she was supposed to do, and she sat down. But for these few moments, I want to share with you. As last couple weeks ago, we were in a series, we titled it, Think Big. And oftentimes in life, you and I often got some big things ahead of us, and we got to think big. Think big, it really is just imagining that you're going to overcome what you're going through or what you're facing. Last week, a couple weeks ago, we talked about out of Joshua, how Joshua encourages us that we can think big. And I'm going to speculate, there's about 85 folks in here that are some big thinkers. We talked about how God had prepared his people. That's how Joshua, at the beginning of the chapter 1, was able to think big because God prepares his people. Y'all know the story where Joshua took over from Moses. Moses could not see the promised land because Moses got mad. Moses made a mistake. Y'all talk back to me if you know the story, where Moses hit the rock and God said, look, man, I'm paraphrasing. Let me back up. I got guests today. He said, Moses, he said, man, you can't go. You disobedient and you can't go. But I'm going to let you see it. But I'm not going to let you put your feet on it. Is that the text? Is that in the Bible? And so Moses had passed on, and Joshua was now on the scene. And we encourage us to think big because Joshua had a big task ahead of him. And so he had to think big. But we talked about how last week he told us how God prepares his people. He had prepared Joshua for the task at hand. He had to fill some big shoes. Moses was the man. And he had to come behind Moses, how God prepares his people. But also we talked about how God preserves his promises. What that means is God had told Moses, had told him that I will get you to the promised land. And I love it. In the midst of their disobedience, and they had to wander in the wilderness, God is still going to let some of their family members see the promised land. Now that ought to make about 3 or 4 of y'all shout right about there, because we got some family members who were acting up. But by the grace of God, God is still blessing you and me. Y'all not shouting, but because he preserves his promises. I love that about the God that we serve, that no matter sometimes, even when we don't deserve his promises, he still keeps his promises. Can I give you a promise? He said his mercies are new each and every morning. What that means to you and me, that maybe I acted up on yesterday. I looked at something I shouldn't have looked at. I touched some things I shouldn't have touched. I ate some things I shouldn't have ate. Somebody might say, I smoked some things I shouldn't have smoked. Somebody might say, Reverend, I drank some things I got a witness on this side. I drank some things I shouldn't have drank. Somebody might say, Reverend, I posted something on Facebook that I wish I could take back. But thanks be to God, mercy was waiting on you this morning. I think I got 2 witnesses on this side. What mercy is, all that is God holding back what we deserve. And I don't know about you, but I messed up yesterday. Maybe I'm the only one that messed up yesterday. But when I woke up this morning, mercy was waiting on me. Death wasn't waiting on me, but life was waiting on me. Blessings was waiting on me. Grace was waiting on me. Come on. God keeps his promises. Yes, sir. But when you think big, not only does God keep his promises, he protects his people. I love it because in the midst of what Joshua was going to face, God said, look, I got you, man. Just be strong and be courageous. I'm going to protect you. Just as I protected Moses, I'm going to protect you. That ought to be a shout for 2 more folks in the building. That God has kept your mama and your daddy. And God is still keeping you today. And so it excites me, y'all, that when you think big, Joshua says he's going to prepare you, he's going to preserve his promises, but also he's going to protect his people. And so what else is in the text today in this Think Big series? Because I don't know about you, but I got some big things facing me. And I got to ask you, anybody got some big things ahead of them? I only got 3 on this side. I got 1 and 2 and 3. I see a couple on this side. And so, you know, in our country, we're facing some big things. Y'all watch TV. In our city, in our community, there's some obstacles, there's some things that you and I wish to obtain, to reach, but it appears to be too big. Now I'm asking, has anybody got some big things ahead of them? Let me ask a survey one more time. I see 3 on this side. I saw 5 on this side. I'm gonna help about 6 more folks, because the reality of it is, all of us think big. And now whether you raise your hand or not, I'm gonna point out some things that I believe you're a big thinker.
All right.
Big hair. Some of us want big houses. Some of us want big paychecks. Some of us want big cars. Some of us like big churches, big TVs, big muscles, big families, big businesses, big beds, big hats, big earrings, big phones, big titles, big laptops, and big degrees. Now I didn't hear everybody say, man, so I'm going to back this thing up, because I need to help somebody that we all have a tendency to think big. Big earrings, big gold chains. It's just in our DNA to think big. Y'all kind of quiet, because some of these things, I work in an industry where I help folks get homes. And sometimes they come and they say, I got a 2-bedroom, but it's just fine. But I want a 3 and 4 bedroom because I want something bigger. I love it because somebody said, Reverend, y'all remember when a 16-inch used to be a big TV? Y'all remember y'all had that 16-inch? And that was just like, man, you was on the phone like, man, I got a 16-inch. And y'all remember when the 32 came out? Come on, y'all to talk back to me. I mean, that was just like the biggest thing ever. But you wasn't satisfied with the 32. When Nebraska Furniture Mart came out with 48s and 55s, y'all can look y'all on. Now, if I was to go on somebody's house, that's probably a 60-inch TV. Why? Because we like. Y'all not getting this. Y'all not getting it. Y'all, anybody got a twin bed? I'm a snake. I got it right. Anybody got a twin bed? No, you had a twin bed because the twin bed was too small. Now you went to a queen, and Lord have mercy, if you got a king, you are set for life. Why? Because you wanted something bigger in life. That's all I'm trying to say. We got to think big. Even in ministry, even when we're serving God, we got to have some big thoughts. And because we serve a big God. I'm halfway there. Let me in the text. Joshua is going to help us today to allow us to continue to think big. And because Joshua was facing some big things ahead of him, he had to cross the Jordan River. And the fact is, it wasn't an easy task to get across the Jordan River. But there's 3 things I see in the text today that I want you to write these things down today. That if we're going to think big, the title of today's lesson in this series of Think Big is, as we celebrate 101 years, I want you to know, and Joshua encourages, that the Lord is still blessing us. Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, the Lord is blessing us. Where do you see it at? Joshua, we talked about how last week, we talked about how what God can do for us. How he prepares us and keeps his promises. But today, there's some things that are required of you and me. So this might not be a shouting kind of message, because now it looks at what we need to do as we start to think big in life. The first thing Joshua says, you got to keep straight. All right. Write that down. Keep straight. Joshua says, if we're going to think big and be reminded that the Lord is blessing us, we got to keep straight. Where do you see it? Verse number 7. it says, be strong, very courageous. And he says, be careful to obey the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from the right or to the left. What Joshua's telling us is that, look, you got to stay focused and keep your eyes on the task that's at hand. They were trying and were going to get across the Jordan, and he tried to tell them, look, there's going to be some times that you might want to go left and you might just want to go right. But if you keep going straight, we're going to make it over the Jordan River. He said, because you got to stay straight, because your ancestors, they started to look left, look right, and back, and it caused them to stay in the wilderness for 40 years. It blessed me because he says, look, if you keep your eyes on the prize, you're going to get across the river. The problem with their ancestors was they started to look around. And they realized that they said, you know what, I don't think we're going to make it out of the wilderness, Moses, and I don't think we can make it over the Jordan River, because they started to look around. I want to encourage you, Pleasant Green, if you've got something ahead of you, and if it's something so big and so large, I want to encourage you to keep looking straight. Why, Joshua, should we keep looking straight? Because when you start to look to your left or to your right, there's some folks who don't want to see you succeed on your left and on your right. There were some naysayers in Moses' day, and when the people started looking around, they started to get involved and engage in some negative conversation. They started talking about, you know what, we could have stayed out here and died. Why are you taking us out here? We could have died in the wilderness. And I don't know about you, but when you look straight, you ain't got time for no foolishness. The text says, look straight ahead, don't look to your left, and don't look to your right. But then it says, don't listen to them. All right. The challenge is when you look, sometimes it's okay to look, but it's when you start having conversation. That's what gets you in trouble. Oh, let me see. Has anybody, no, this is an adult crowd. Has anybody ever was supposed to be looking straight, but when you looked around, and you should have been looking straight, and you had a conversation with someone you shouldn't have had a conversation with? Y'all kind of quiet, huh? And all of a sudden, you found yourself in trouble. You found yourself in a situation where you shouldn't have been. All because you took your eyes off the prize. I don't think that. Let me try it one more time. In track and field, Coach Fred and Coach Jimmy, the boys club, they were track coaches. And track is an individual sport until you get to the relay. And when you lined up in the blocks, they would tell you, look straight ahead. Don't look around. Don't look down. Don't look up. Don't look to the person in the other lane, because that will slow you down. But they said, keep your eye on the tape. And if you keep your eye on the tape, you will cross the finish line at a higher rate of speed than you would if you look around. What are you trying to say, Pastor? If you and I, as Christians, as believers in Jesus Christ, if we would look to the tape, if we would look to the cross, we're going to get there faster and in better shape. Because I don't know about you, but every night, you ever looked around at child of God and the Lord is blessing you and you're going through something, and then you looked around and you got discouraged again? All because we had a conversation. The text says, keep straight. And when you look straight ahead, keep your eyes on the cross. And when you think big, you got to look straight. Not only that, verse Verse number 8 says, Joshua says, not only keep straight, but it says keep studying. Where do you see it at in the text? Look at verse number 8. He's talking to him. He's getting encouraged. He said, now that you keep straight, he said, look, that you may be successful in wherever you go. Keep the books of the law on your lips. Meditate on it day and night. And be careful to do everything that's written in it. And what Joshua is saying is that he's telling, look, you got to stay in the Word. Amen. He said because it was the books of law that Moses had wrote that's going to keep you straight. And if you don't know what's in the law, you're going to start to swerving every now and then. You're going to start dipping every now and then. Falling back every now and then if you don't know what the Word says. It's encouraging to know that the text says we got to study the Word for ourselves. And I love it because thank God we're no longer under the law, but we're under grace. Because I don't know about you, but I don't know if I could live under the law because I would have been dead a long time ago. Kind of quiet. Maybe we forgot what the law said. The law, one of the laws was do not commit adultery. Whether it be physically or mentally. Do not steal. Love thy God with all thine heart. I love it because he said, look, don't forget what the law says. You got to know who created the heavens and the earth. You got to know you can't serve two gods. You got to love God with all of your heart. You got to know that you won't commit adultery. You won't steal or murder. I know that's not shouting because every now and then, all of us is going to steal every day. What do you mean, Pastor? Every now and then, we steal some of God's time, treasures, and talents. But thanks be to God, we don't live under the law. For the text says we got to meditate. And meditate, all that is taking some time to spend with God. Taking some time to get in the Word of God. Because if you're in the Word and you meditate on it, it's going to keep you straight. The text says, how long, Joshua? Should it be for a few minutes? No, he said day and night. And what that means is we all should have a little quiet time studying the Word of God. Now I got to admit today that sometimes if your life is like me, I spend more time meditating on SportsCenter. I spend more time meditating on Empire or Scandal. I spend a little bit more time meditating on Greenleaf, Family Feud. Y'all. Facebook. Come on, don't do me like, don't leave me here. Because I know I'm not the only one that spends more time meditating on other things than the Word of God. How do I know? I know because when I look around, there's some folks who ain't moved in worship today. That tells me you ain't meditated on the Word this week. Because those that have meditated on the Word this week came in shouting and screaming. Because when you meditate, you start to think about the goodness of God. And then you say, if it had not been for the Lord on my side, where would I be? When you meditate, you don't got no problem giving God some praise. Matter of fact, you came and brought your own praise with you. When you meditate, you start to think about how good God's been to you and how good He's been to me. When you meditate on the Word of God, you can say, I bless the Lord at all times, and His praise shall continue. When you meditate on the Word, you don't need a deacon to say your prayer. You don't need the preacher to read your favorite text. When you think about the goodness of God and all that He's done for you, you can give Him praise. That's the indicator. If your neighbor has not moved, they ain't meditated. If your neighbor hasn't smiled, that's an indication that their praise tank is a little low. Well, let me take a moment to Because when you do that, when you meditate, it gets in your heart. And when it's in your heart, you ain't gonna forget it. Y'all kind of quiet. When it's deep down in, when trouble comes your way, if it's in your heart, you know that you're only going through the valley and you're not going to stay. When it's in your heart, the text says, meditate. Keep it in your hearts. Keep it on your lips. That means when folks hear your voice, they ought to hear Jesus every now and then. When they see your Facebook posts, they ought to know you know the Lord. When you're on Twitter and Instagram, they ought to know. Stay straight. Stay studied up. Well, if you stay studied up, last week we talked about his promises. Y'all remember the promises? And I love God's promises. But I failed to tell you that promises come with conditions. The text says he gonna get them over into the promised land, but there's some things that they had to do. They had to keep his, they had to be obedient, they had to live right, and they had to keep his word. And so, Pleasant Green, if we're going to live a life pleasing to God, we got to know that promises come with conditions. Y'all know about the conditions. Folks, y'all like to get paid? Who like to get paid up here? I know I like to get paid. But you can't, the promise is payday, but the condition is you got to work. At our house, the promise is we're going to feed you, but you got to keep your room clean. The promise in our house is we're going to get you some new basketball shoes, but you got to have good grades. Y'all looking at me crazy. Promises, but yet they come with conditions. Somebody's looking at me crazy, like I'm making this up. Let me give you a promise. Anybody heard that God will hear and forgive our sins and heal our land? Come on, y'all know that? That's the promise. But the condition is, if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray and seek my face, turn from their wicked ways. We got a whole lot of work to do in that condition. Because every time I look around, we living in a wicked nation. We living in some wicked land. And the condition is, if my people, y'all not getting it. Can I give you another promise? Because I love God's promises. I love it when he says, I will open the windows of heaven. Come on, y'all, if you want to fuss. It says, the promise is, I'm going to open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that you shall not have room to receive it. Anybody know that promise? Come on, is anybody standing? Oh, yo, I don't got too many witnesses. Do I got some tithers in the building? Do I got some folks who trust the Lord? Can I give you the condition? The reason why 6 folks ain't shouting, because they ain't going through the condition. The condition is, if we bring all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house, prove me. Now I'm going to get excited, because I love his promises, and I got to meet the condition. Y'all kind of quiet. Y'all, what's that one that says, all things work together for good? Y'all love that? When something is going wrong or right in your life, and we claim Romans 8 and 28 like it's nothing. But the condition is, to those who are called. Come on. Y'all still kind of quiet. Can I try it one more time? Can I try it one more time? I gotta admit, I'm a sinner saved by grace. I gotta admit that I make some mistakes every now and then. I'm reminded of the promise. Promise says, God will forgive us of our sins and cleanse us of all unrighteousness. There ought to be a few more shouts. Is there anybody glad that God will forgive your sins? sin. A sin is going against the will of God. I'm glad that I got the promise that he will forgive me of my sins. Sins by deed, sins by thought, and sin by... Is there anybody excited that God forgives you of your sin? Maybe you're not excited because you're not coming up with the condition. What's the condition? If we confess our sins. The problem is, sometimes we don't confess all our sins. I'm going out because I'm excited. I'm excited to know that the Lord is blessing me and the Lord is blessing you. Why are you excited? Because every now and then I swerve a little bit, but he has a way of keeping me straight. Every now and then I don't meditate like I should, but he still keeps the word in my heart. He ain't like the IRS. What they give us, they come take it back. But thanks be to God, when he puts it in our heart, he keeps it. And so I love the text. I'm gone. He said, Joshua said, look, don't be scared. That's the last thing I've done. He tells him, he said, look, don't be scared. Where do you see that text? Because they're getting ready to go over to the promised land. And he knows that sometimes success often comes with struggles. Success comes with some sacrifices. But he tells them, look, don't be scared. Where do you see that in the text? Look at verse number 9. He tells them right there, he says, look, he says, I have not commanded you, be strong and do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Text says, don't be scared, Joshua. When you're thinking big, there's going to be some folks who are going to try to scare you to think that your God is not going to do what he said he's going to do. God told you he's going to get you over to Jordan, and what God says, God does. So don't let nobody scare you from getting that big dream. Y'all looking at me crazy. How can they scare you? You talking about how you want to get a new job or get a promotion. They say, girl, you can't get that job. Anybody ever been discouraged before? I see a witness right in the back. Thank you. Been scared, but I got good news. Don't worry about that. God's going to make your enemy your footstool. So don't be scared. And then lastly, success is available. Where do you see that in the text? Verse 7b, going backwards. He said, look, don't worry about it. Joshua, I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to take care of the people. If you do what you're supposed to do, if you stay straight, live right, be obedient, stay in the word, put me first in your life, guess what I'm going to do for you? Text says I'm going to give you success wherever you go. Where do you see that in the text? It's right there at 7b. When you walk backwards, he told him to be strong, be courageous, be careful, be obedient. Then he says that you may be successful wherever you go. I got to ask a question. Are there any successful folks in the house today? Is there some successful folks in the house on today? You know God's been good to you. You know it is by the grace of God that you are where you are. Do I got some successful folks? I'm not talking, it ain't always got to be materialistic. It can be spiritual blessings. I got to ask one more question. Do I got some successful folks in the house? Do I got some children of God in the house that say, Reverend, when I look at everything that I have, I got it by the grace of God. When I look at my family, it's by the grace of God. When I look at my job, it's by the grace of God. Text says, it's by the grace of God we have what we have. And I wish I could preach like I feel, but I got to go home. We got to get ready for the next service. Let me see if I can sum this thing up. On yesterday, at Memorial Stadium, the Huskers had a football game. And they played Michigan State, for those that don't know. And as they got ready to play, the conditions weren't the greatest. It was cold and 26 degrees and the wind blowing from the north and south. Folks were bundled up in the cold weather. They white faces and gloves and scarves, but they were still 80,000 folks in Lincoln, Nebraska, attending a football game in some 26-degree weather. But what I noticed in the text that blessed me as I watched the football game, when it was time for that last kick, after all the adversity that the team had went through, after everybody talked about them, told them they wasn't no good, and it's a rebuilding year, and they start talking negative about them, but some of them didn't listen to the peanut gallery. And it blessed me because I believe God has a sense of humor. Because when the fella lined up to kick the ball, I had to watch it, Brother Pat, 3 or 4 times. Because when he kicked the ball, if you notice, the ball was going to the left. Come on, y'all didn't see it. The ball was going high speed to the left, and it appeared that he was going to miss the mark. It was cold. It was some bad elements. They had the odds stacked against them, and the world talking about it. But when the fella lined up and he kicked the ball was going to the left. But I had to rewind it because I noticed something in the text. When you're still faithful to the cause, when you stay with the game plan, I noticed when the ball got up, all of a sudden it straightened out. And the ball straightened out. It went right through the hoop. Well, somebody don't say, Reverend, what has that got to do with you and me? Every now and then, life will kick you in the wrong direction. Life will have you going in the wrong direction. But God takes his hand on you and me, straightens you and me out. Now we're saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. I gotta ask you a question. Has anybody ever been going in the wrong direction? You were on your way to hell, but God reached down, saved your soul. I gotta shout and go home because I'm excited because I was headed in the wrong direction. But thanks be to God that he can take an old wretch like me, sinner saved by grace, and get me in the right direction. And y'all gonna make me call your names now. Is there anybody that was headed in the wrong direction? Do I got some sinners saved by grace? Alcoholics, fornicators, backstabbers, but now you're headed in the right direction. Y'all know where we're going. We're going up the King's Highway. I'm done. I'm Joshua. I'm gonna try it one more time. If Joshua didn't excite you, if Moses didn't excite you, I got one more chance to try to encourage somebody about another man who held straight and stayed straight to the plan. When they tried to talk about it, when they called him all kind of names, when they told him he wasn't God, but he kept straight, he had his mind fixed on the cross. I gotta tell you about a man who was a student of the word. He was about his father's business. He was in the temples and the synagogue telling how to enter to heaven. I gotta tell you about one more, that he wasn't scared of nobody. When they took him from judgment hall to judgment hall, he wasn't scared. When they pierced him in the side, he wasn't scared. When they nailed him to an old rugged cross, he wasn't scared.